Senior night for BYU Gymnastics features an in-state rivalry showdown with longtime foe Southern Utah. The 19th-ranked Thunderbirds visit the Smith Fieldhouse with eyes on more than just a head-to-head win. BYU also chasing larger goals and a spot in the NCAA Regionals. We'll call it Last Chance Monday. It happens next on BYU TV. Big Monday for NCAA women's gymnastics. A lot of eyes on this meet to wrap up the regular season. Top 20 foes. Southern Utah enters with the 19th ranking in the country to take on BYU in the Smith Fieldhouse. We welcome you wherever and however you're dialed in on BYU TV. Glad to have you with us alongside the fabulous Mikkel Merkley, who was a star in this very building not too long ago. I am Spencer Linton. This is what you ask for as a fan of sport, of gymnastics. This is the theater of the unknown with a lot on the line tonight. It's about BYU doing what they can to try and solidify a spot in the NCAA regionals. They're right on the cusp. Southern Utah, meanwhile, they're well in, but still chasing a bigger goal.
Yes, SUU, they're in. They're going to regionals, but they are currently ranked 19th. Top 18 teams are seeded. They want to be in that top 18. BYU, they're right on the bubble of going to regionals. Ranked 35th, top 36 teams go to regionals. Both teams looking to do well tonight to move into those spots they want to be.
All right, we'll take a very close look at how things progress through the night and those regional qualifying scores. Our impact players brought to you by Ahern Rentals, offering commercial and residential high-lift equipment with more than 80 locations nationwide. Ahern Rentals since 1953. The spotlight for Southern Utah hits solely on Tylee Bizzuto. What do you like most about what she brings to this meet?
You know, Tylee is so consistent. She has just been putting up high scores over and over and over this season, including coming off a career-high night last week of a 39.375. Her coaches just say she's been on fire, and they can't wait to see what she does this evening.
For the BYU Cougars, the reemergence of Jill Van Mierlo coming off of a rough injury last year is a big reason why BYU is in position to even make a regional. This is a team peaking at the right time, led by Van Mierlo.
BYU is so happy to have Jill back. She's another very consistent performer. She's coming off 2 season highs from last week, scoring 9.9s on both bars and beam. The girls really look to her. She just has a nice, calm confidence about her as she's competing and really leads by example.
Jill Van Mierlo, as you see with those scores on beam and bars, big part of what BYU did on Friday night. Going into that matchup with Arizona, the Cougars had yet to win a head-to-head meet this season, and they were one spot out of that regional qualifying cutoff line, 37th. Then comes the big-time score. Now, what in the world is an RQS, regional qualifying score? Our math expert, Mikkel Merkley, explained it so beautifully on Friday. Why don't you do it again?
It's a little bit confusing. We're going to take the top 6 scores. 3 have to be away. We're going to minus the high score just in case something happened. The girls did exceptionally well. They never do that well again. The judges were giving away scores. Get rid of that top score. Average the remaining 5. The top 36 teams then move on to regionals.
Current rankings after Friday's second highest score of the season for BYU, which was a 196.35, puts BYU in a tie with Central Michigan for 35th. Essentially, the last team in, because that's 35 and 36, 195.370. That's as close as it gets. Needless to say, tonight is enormous for both of these teams. That takes us to our keys to the meet, presented by Tim Daly, Ford Spanish Fork, formerly Smith Auto. Tim Daly Auto Group serving Utah since 1968. Hey, look at that. Stick landings. That's
Stuck
weird
landings.
that we're discussing that during a gymnastics meet.
Never heard that at a gymnastics meet ever. No, stuck landings are very important. The girls have been hitting routines so well, but the landings are where they're getting their most deductions currently. So tonight we're going to be looking for a lot of stuck landings. We're also going to be looking for an average of 49 on each event.
Southern Utah averages a 196.3. That's good for 19th in the country. That's where BYU was on Friday night. Starting lineup for the Cougars on the vault. will go like this. Love, Zong, Cheyenne Hill in the 3 spot. Hortman, the 4th to go. Van Mierlo and Mackenzie Douglas, the anchor leg on the vault. Not a ton of changes all around from Friday night to Monday night for Guard Young's team at BYU. The Southern Utah Thunderbirds will start this competition on the uneven bars. Heltemes, Townsend, Shettles, Jorgensen, Rosa, and Howlett are the top 6 for Scott Bauman and the Thunderbirds on the uneven bars. We are just moments away from renewing the rivalry and doing so in a rare Monday night showcase. Not a ton of gymnastics happening because most teams have wrapped up the regular season. So a moving opportunity for both the Thunderbirds and Cougars. Lauren Love, season and career best 9.775 on vault. She leads things off for BYU tonight. Here we go.
Lauren's been a consistent performer on vault all season. She's really improved her height and distance. We see great start. What we'll be looking for on vault tonight is a lot of the distance from the vault in addition to height and amplitude. You'll see she blocks right up. Tons of time to see that landing, and then you will see that big hop. That's what we're talking about with the sticks. That's at least a 1 to 2 to 10th deduction. We'll be looking for, as vault continues on, to see less hopping, more no feet moving.
Unique challenge for both of these teams. BYU for the first time this season in a Friday-Monday turnaround. They have not done that. Guard Young said, look, we're going to work, we're going to refocus, and prepare for our competition. Even though it was so good against Arizona, you got to go right back to work in a perilous position to get in NCAA regionals. Southern Utah underway on the uneven bars. Amber Heltemes.
On bars, we're going to be looking for 2 major releases. There's the first one. One release will be done high bar to high bar. The other release is a transitional release, typically high bar to low bar. We'll also be looking for hit handstands. Handstands need to be exactly upside down like that one we just saw there. And then the stuck landings as well. Huge opening for SUU. Lots of great handstands, as we were talking about. She hit every single handstand. Every handstand missed on bars is at least a 1/10 deduction. Those add up very quickly. The girls are looking to hit those handstands. Good landings like we were talking about on vault. You see there, she hits it and she almost pauses for a second. That's exactly what the judges want to see.
Winding up for the dismount. Good opening routine for the Thunderbirds. Now back to the vault. BYU and Angel Zong following Lauren Love's 9.725. So as you predicted, Mikkel, a couple of tenths for that big hop, but still a respectable score for BYU leading off on vault.
Yeah, the goal for BYU tonight is to score 49 on each event, just like they did last week. So ideally...
Wow, Angel Zong delivers.
Great vault. Again, nice tight body in the air. It looked like she was just a little bit excited and took a bounce. She didn't take a step. She had great control. She just kind of pogo sticked it there a little bit. That will be a deduction, but a tiny one in comparison to the last hop we saw. That will probably be closer to a 0.5 at most.
Angel Zong receiving well-deserved congratulations after what at first glance looks like her best vault of the season. And we await the score from Amber Heltemes, 9.825.
Great opening score. In gymnastics, ideally, we want to see the scores rise as each gymnast performs. So starting with an 9.825, if they can drop that 9.825 and just build, they're going to have a great bar score tonight.
Wow, how about that handstand off the top?
Great handstand. She has an interesting technique. A lot of times in gymnastics, you'll see in college gymnastics a straddle handstand. They're a little bit easier. She goes for the straight body handstand. She keeps her feet together the entire time. It's not necessarily worth more, but it is a little more difficult and more impressive to the judges.
Southern Utah off to a very quick start here in Provo. Look at the release move.
Great form on that release move, a little bit close to the bar. On those big releases, the major release of their routine, we want to see them catching with totally straight arms. If they're a little bit bent, it will be a little bit of a deduction.
Sydney Townsend, the second to hit her routine on the uneven bars for Southern Utah. Angel Zong, and it is a career and season best, 9.825, which leads us to Cheyenne Hill, equaling that score of Zong in terms of season and career best.
Cheyenne's been a very consistent performer on vault. We've seen a lot of great vaults from her. All these girls are doing the Yurchenko full. Their landings look so much better. Such an improvement over just 2 days ago, 3 days ago, whenever Friday was. They've already improved their landings so much.
Cheyenne told me on Friday night, I'm 100%, and it hasn't been that way for a while. She's healthy, coming off tough ankle injury,
Yeah,
and she delivers another good vault.
she had a bone bruise at the beginning of the season that made it so she couldn't do vault or floor, and the coaches and her teammates just really missed her on those events because she is a high, consistent scorer. So it's great to see her back.
Cheyenne Hill, the sophomore out of Las Vegas. And Townsend comes in with a 9.75 after Heltemes delivers the 9.825.
You see all these gymnasts are taking off a springboard. You're allowed to stand on the low bar one time. So after their transitional move, here's that transitional move, she'll stand on the low bar. That's her one allowed time. By jumping off the springboard right to the high bar, she is able to avoid a deduction for that second stand.
Memory Shettles.
Big routine. SUU's form looks great. Their handstands look great. They're looking for big scores tonight.
Here is that transitional move. Not much to complain about right there for Memory
No,
Shettles.
this looks great.
Scott Bauman and the Thunderbirds doing incredible things in the world of NCAA gymnastics in Cedar City, Utah. You got to give credit to this program that is looking to get to that elite tier. I mean, they are right there.
So close. Yeah, from Friday, they were actually in the top 18. So assuming that they can just hit like they've been doing, they'll be right back there, which will make it a lot easier for them to advance to nationals following regionals.
Shannon Hortman following Cheyenne Hill's 9.8. Oh, the over rotation.
Shannon's vault is so difficult. Where she does the half twist instead of the full twist like her teammates do, it is a blind landing. She cannot see the ground until her feet hit it. It looked like she thought that she just needed to stay in it a little longer than she actually needed. And just was a little too much to compensate.
Now, she is a gymnast that has clearly a ton of energy, and so we've seen that from her on this event earlier this season at home,
Yes.
is the over rotation. So this adds some pressure to the last two vaulters for BYU to come up with scores.
It does. We do not want to have to count that fall. So the next two girls have to hit, or we'll be counting that. It is a little bit of a mind game. You should always just go out planning on hitting, but once you know that you have no safety net, it does take a little bit of a toll mentally on you.
Oh, and a fall by Autumn Jorgensen, which is very uncharacteristic. She's following Memory Shettles, who just posted a 9.85. She has, I believe, is it 30 or 60 seconds to get back up on the bar after the fall?
You have 30 seconds, enough time to go, chalk up, get your breath back. It's funny, you'd think that 30 seconds would give you an actual break, but really it makes your routine so much more tiring. If she was able to continue on and just get going, then her routine would have been easier. She's actually now has a fall, and her routine's going to be a little more tiring, a little more difficult for her to complete.
Good finish for Autumn Jorgensen, and every 10th counts for sure. Even if you fall and have to get back up, you don't know if you're going to have to count that score, but let's take a look and see what happened.
It's a great release. Her form is fabulous in the air. Her body position is great. It looked like her one hand just didn't quite reach over. Your grips have something in them called a dowel. Your dowel has to get over the bar or you will just slip right off. It looked like her left hand got over, her right hand didn't quite make it.
Shannon Hortman, as expected, low score, 9.175. Reminder that the low score in each rotation will be dropped, and then the official team tally is calculated. Jill Van Mierlo.
Huge vault. They may count that as a stick. They may take the step backward. In order for it to count as a stuck landing, you do just have to show control for a moment. That was very controlled. I say they give it to her. What do you think?
I'm just amazed that these gymnasts can do this and not critically injure themselves on a daily basis. That was a very, very impressive vault from Jill Van Mierlo. Yeah, we'll see how closely the judges are watching that. And I mean, what is the official? You have to hold it for 1 full second?
No, so there's no time limit. You just have to show control. So they know you're going to try and be sneaky if you're a little off balance. That was more of a sneaky landing. She went right from the controlled, semi-controlled landing right back to the salute. It might have showed enough control that they'll give it to her though.
Becky Rosa, 5'9" freshman out of Gilbert, Arizona.
You know, I am 5'6", and I kicked that low bar quite a few times. So I'm imagining at 5'9", her feet have met that one time or two.
Rosa.
Beautiful handstands. While bars is a little bit harder if you're taller, it looks so pretty because all of your handstands, all of your lines are just so long. We see in that first release she did, it was just beautiful. Everything was just so stretched out.
Rosa needs a big score after that 9-1-5, and she's going to get it.
So few deductions that could even possibly have been taken. She has great form. We're going to see on this release move here. Just tight body, everything. Huge landing here. Beautiful set.
Becky Rosa with an enormous routine. Van Mierlo with a 9-8. And now the attention on vault turns to Mackenzie Douglas and BYU, the anchor leg.
Mackenzie Douglas.
Mackenzie does a little bit different vault than the other ones we've seen. She does a tuck 1.5. It is one of the only vaults we'll see tonight that has a 10-0 start value. Great vault, again, blind landing. Very difficult to find that stuck position. She cannot see the floor until her feet hit. She will receive a deduction not only for the step backward, but it was to the side, which shows the judges that she was a little off. Huge vault though. You can see Doug on every event, everything she competes in, she just has so much amplitude. We can see how high she is there above the vault.
Okay, I'm going to hold your feet to the fire here on this score. You've been pretty consistent all season. What would you give that vault?
I did not know there was going to be a pop quiz.
Rosa with a 9.85, meanwhile,
let's see. I'm going to say
shuttles.
9.775.
9.775.
That's my guess.
Mackenzie Douglas.
We'll
Late
see what
change on the
happens.
uneven bars for Scott Bauman in Southern Utah. Tylee Bizzuto will be the anchor performer.
There again, we see those nice handstands with the feet together. Shows a lot of strength. Very tight on her release move. We're going to be looking for a big dismount here. She has a little bit easier routine in it, so we're not looking for just the double back. Huge routine. Beautiful layout, very tight form.
What a response by both teams after the fourth competitors in this rotation. Both had falls. Shannon Hortman for BYU and Autumn Jorgensen for Southern Utah. Tylee Bizzuto the latest to bring it.
A lot of pressure on these last two gymnasts. They know that it matters, even more so than usual if they hit, and they did well under the pressure.
Already through one rotation officially, BYU and Aaron Hilton with an exhibition vault. This obviously will not count towards the BYU score.
First, Aaron Hilton.
Guard Young told me he's trying to build depth. He wants to make sure he has up to 8 ready on each event for all meets, and it's been tough. The depth will really get some help next year with 11 freshmen coming in.
We had a huge freshman class this year that all gained a lot of experience, adding 11 new freshmen while those other freshmen now become sophomores. There's going to be a lot of good experience. We only had one senior on the team this year. There's just going to be a lot of upperclassmen. I expect to see really good things from BYU.
That one senior for BYU, Taylor Harward, was honored before the meet began tonight to a nice ovation from the home fans. We wish the best to Taylor as she moves on from BYU Gymnastics and hope she enjoys her senior night. Coming up, second rotation, Southern Utah and BYU will switch places with the Cougars going to the uneven bars and the Thunderbirds taking on the vault. Big Monday, NCAA Women's Gymnastics on BYU TV.
BYU Gymnastics on BYU TV is brought to you by BYU Gymnastics on BYU TV is brought to you by Tim Daly Auto Group, serving Utah since 1968. Deseret First Credit Union, sharing your values. And by DexterLaw.com for help when you need it most.
Welcome back to the Smith Fieldhouse in Provo, Utah. Big Monday of NCAA Women's Gymnastics featuring BYU and Southern Utah. The Cougars put up a 49.025 as a team in that first rotation on vault thanks to a 9.875 by Mackenzie Douglas.
I was too critical. I took too much for the step.
Well, go easy on these young ladies, okay, Mikkel? BYU hitting that mark, getting over it just by a hair. They want to be 49 plus all night. Southern Utah, well over 49. Huge routines from Rosa and Bizzuto to go 9.85. Also Shettles in that 3 spot with a 9.85. This was very impressive. The Deseret First Credit Union game summary brought to you by Deseret First, your values, your timeline, your financial future. So a 1/10 lead for Southern Utah as we go to rotation number 2. Thunderbirds on the vault, BYU on the uneven bars. Let's take a look at the vault starters for SUU. They'll be led off by Megan McBride, freshman from nearby Orem, Utah. Autumn Jorgensen, Tylee Bizzuto. Virginia Brownsell will be in the 4th spot. Stacy Webb and Karen Gonzalez is the anchor on vault. The uneven bars lineup for BYU, Natasha Trejo, sophomore out of Tucson, Arizona, opening things up. Mackenzie Douglas off that 9.875 on vault, 2nd. Shannon Horton, 3rd, followed by the uneven bars specialist, Brittany Haas. Jessie Westergaard will compete 5th, and Jill Van Mierlo, who just posted a 9.9 in her last meet, will be the anchor. Look at some of the fans in attendance tonight. Yoli Childs and Zach Frampton of BYU men's basketball. They will host UT Arlington on Wednesday in the first round of the National Invitation Tournament as a 3 seed. 6 seed Mavericks coming to the Marriott Center. These guys enjoying some big time athletic performances tonight in the final regular season meet of the year for BYU and Southern Utah.
Your third 9.8er hires Jill Van Mierlo.
While these teams warm up and we have a moment, reminder to check out BYU Sports Nation, our national simulcast on BYU TV and Sirius XM 143 BYU Radio. Your day-to-day play-by-play for BYU Sports in Studio B. Check it out with myself and my co-host Jaron Jordan. Weekdays, noon Eastern, 10 a.m. Mountain Time. You can also download the podcast on iTunes and the TuneIn app. Also on Google Play now as of last week.
Very exciting.
Are you really excited?
Very excited. I love the whip around.
The Cougar Whip Around.
Yeah.
I'm impressed that you brought that up, Mikkel. That means you stay until the end of the show. That is...
See? True fan.
That makes you a true fan. I will allow that. I will allow you to say that. I'll let it be. Let's go to the vault. Southern Utah, second rotation. About to start here in Provo at the Smith Fieldhouse. Thunderbirds looking for a big score tonight as they try and get seeded. They need to get into the top 18. They're ranked 19th.
SUU on their vault team tonight, we're going to see a lot of variety. BYU, every one of their gymnasts does what is called a Yurchenko entry, this round off here. Beautiful Yurchenko full right there. Good landing, nice straight body. That's the vault we've been seeing all night. Later on tonight from the T-Birds, we're going to be seeing different vaults. One called a Cuervo, one called a front handspring half. A lot of variety from the team. Looking to have more 10-0 start values.
Megan McBride with a beautiful vault. Such a boost of confidence when that first vault lands well for the entire team. It just sets that momentum, it sets the tone. And here is the sophomore, Natasha Trejo, who's quickly working herself into the role of most consistent
for sure
on this BYU gymnastics squad.
Most consistent and just beautiful to watch. She easily has one of the most beautiful on both teams double lays that we will see tonight. Her body is totally open. That's what we want to see on these dismounts that are the double lays. Body totally open, not going really arched and then really piked.
Trejo sticks it.
First stick of the night for BYU. Great way to start out that set.
Look at that upper body strength.
You'll see there, that's what we're talking about with those straight arms. We don't want to be catching too close to the bar. A lot of times when the gymnasts are nervous, they'll pull in just a little bit to make it feel safer as far as they're not going to miss. It's a little scarier to take it out away from the bar, but scores much better.
McBride with a well-deserved 9.825 in that opening vault for Southern Utah. That takes us to Autumn Jorgensen, looking to bounce back after she fell in her first event on the uneven bars.
Another big full. SUU has a lot of amplitude on their vaults and great distance. We don't want to see a vault that's really high but close to the vault, or a vault that's low and far. We want to see that nice balance, and Autumn here really shows that.
Autumn Jorgensen with a nice bounce back performance on vault. 5'2" freshman with a high 10. There's a look into the soul of Scott Bauman as he was staring into our camera. Our scorebox sponsor, Brady Industries, provider of commercial cleaning supplies and equipment throughout the western United States for over 65 years. Brady Industries, clean solutions, a tradition for generations. And look at this score. Natasha Trejo with a 9.875 career season best for Trejo. Here comes Mackenzie Douglas, who knows a thing or two about a 9.875 this season.
Bars is definitely BYU's strong point. They are nationally ranked there. There's that close catch we were talking about earlier. Beautiful handstand, handstand to handstand. Doug also has a really big dismount. She twists in hers. Great landings. You can see why BYU has done so well on bars this season. They consistently hit routines and they have the best landings. You'll see here just a tiny bit close.
Yeah, a little shallow there, so how much of a deduction is that?
Well, now I'm nervous after you called me out the last time she was up. That's about a 2/10 deduction at least, where her face was almost right next to the bar. They will deduct that a little more strongly.
Solid landing.
That was really one of the only deductions in her routine, though. We should still expect to see a great score from Mackenzie tonight.
Jorgensen comes in with a 9.825. Great start for the Thunderbirds, going 9.825 back-to-back on vault. And here is Tylee Bizzuto, our impact performer for the Thunderbirds.
Great, again, these T-Birds, they just are coming up. We want to see on these vaults, we want to see the girls twist very fast and have time to land. You'll be able to see that on Tylee here. Blocks up, twists fast, throws her arms out. She has plenty of time to see the landing. That's one of the benefits of doing the full versus the half or the 1.5.
The Thunderbirds have been the pattern of consistency this season. showing it on the vaults. Douglas with that 9.775. There's the 9.775 you were looking for.
I just knew it was coming sometime tonight.
Shannon Hortman, third to compete on the uneven bars for the BYU Cougars.
Beautiful form from Shannon, always. Shannon always has great form, and it's just super tight. If you're ever trying to decide how good their form actually is, look at their toes. Typically, if a gymnast's toes are squeezing, everything else is squeezing. Gosh, such good routines tonight.
Shannon Hortman, three-time Mountain Rim Gymnastics Conference Gymnast of the Week. After her fall on vault.
That is a huge ginger. We see she has so much height above the bar, and on this dismount coming up, do you see how straight her body is? That's exactly what we were talking about earlier.
Guard Young's reaction. Three very good routines for BYU on the uneven bars, and as you've mentioned a few times, Mikkel, it has been BYU's best event all season. Pizzuto with a 9.75.
Virginia has one of those vaults that are a little bit different we talked about earlier. She does what's called a Cuervo. All the other gymnasts we've seen twist coming off the vault, she's going to twist going onto the vault.
Oh, good looking vault, but big step, but it's an interesting vault to watch.
We'll see here. She comes on forward and then twists before she does the backflip off.
Ooh.
It's often called a front pike half, but where she does do the half before she does the flip, it's worth a little bit more. That is a 10-0 vault.
Hortman, 9.875.
Huge score.
Equals Natasha Trejo. And here is Brittany Haas. 2 weeks ago, the Mountain Rim Gymnastics Conference Specialist of the Week on this uneven bars rotation. This is what she does, the only event she competes in for BYU, and takes great pride in doing so.
She's in there. Wow, that was really good. She's another one of those gymnasts. Everything she does is so big, and we're going to see on her double layout here. Oh, no,
Oh, she can't hold it.
We're going to be looking for that huge dismount right here. Huge dismount. Very hard to do after a fall. It's about as much as a fall. Plus a little more, probably. Huge release. Do you see how big that is? And her arms are so stretched. On these handstands we mentioned earlier, you have to be totally upside down or you will get a deduction. You have to be within 10 degrees of a handstand. That's the risk of going for that full handstand, is that occasionally you will fall over. You not only get a deduction for going over the bar, she has to take an extra swing with bent knees to turn around. So it is a pretty big flaw in the routine.
Virginia Brownsell with a 9.85. Competitor number 5 on the vault for the Thunderbirds of Southern Utah. Thumbs up. Let's do this. Stacy Webb. One of the Thunderbirds' many nicknames, the Flippin' Birds.
Love it.
They are doing that here. Stacy Webb.
Another just huge vault. Tons and tons of amplitude. Really big right there. You'll see her arms are tucked in so tightly on the turn. She has lots of time to finish and find that landing. SUU is doing a great job on vault tonight. One of their main high-scoring vaulters was hurt during warm-ups, and they had to make some switches. That's what, when Spencer was talking about how important it is to have a nice deep lineup, they had to switch right before the meet started.
Brittany Haas, after the handstand over-rotated and she had to readjust, scores a 9.575. Honestly, things could be much worse.
Yeah, that's actually a lot higher than I thought. I've been very critical of these scores tonight. That was a lot higher than I expected, which is great.
Jessie Westergaard.
You'll see Jessie connects her major release to her transitional release. That's what the girls will do for bonus. Each routine technically starts out with a 9.95. Great dismount. technically starts out of a 9.5, and the girls have to earn 0.5 of bonus. She does that by connecting her 2 releases. We'll see here, nice big release right into that shoot over.
And here is the dismount.
Dismount is another blind landing, very difficult to land.
So a considerable step on the landing for Jessie Westergaard, but a difficult dismount for sure. Webb enters with a 9.775. Right now, Southern Utah in great position on vault. When you're dropping 9.75s, things have gone well for you in a rotation.
That is a good rotation.
Karen Gonzalez anchoring the vault. Junior out of Murrieta, California.
Another different vault tonight. That one's called the Sukahara full in the tuck position. I believe that's out of a 9.95 start value. Worth the same as the Yurchenko full. Sometimes it's a little more difficult of a vault as far as that your round off that we typically see onto the board does give you some power. She has to do that without that extra oomph.
Southern Utah in the scorebook now officially with their vault scores. And they're right on pace to do what they've done all year. 49 plus, they average a 196.3. Here comes Jill Van Mierlo, who on Friday put up a 9.9 on the uneven bars, which is a career best.
Jill's another gymnast with just great form. We'll see on these turning moves, her legs are always squeezing so tightly. Right to the handstand there, exactly what the judges are looking for. We see these giants, they're called wind-up giants sometimes. They go really fast into the dismount to give you tons of power to do a big one like that. Huge landing. Jill's just really came through this season. See, nice tight body on that. Her legs are super straight, super pointed, tiny, tiny bit close. Not enough really for a big deduction.
Look at this dismount.
I love watching Jill's dismount because she finishes her full so early. She can just find that ground every single time.
She's got the glue gun working on her feet tonight, Jill Van Mierlo. Guard Young appreciates that effort. And BYU in a decent position to hit that 49 mark once again. They'll drop Brittany Haas 9.575. Before we get to those scores through 2 rotations, here is an exhibition routine from the Cougars and Savannah Maradiaga.
Again, the exhibition routine does not count toward the team score. If she hits, they can't use it. If she falls, it doesn't count against them. It's just a really good opportunity to gain practice performing in front of people, making sure that she's not getting any major deductions on her set that have been overlooked. Great landing. Small flaw there on the shoot over. She was supposed to come through with straight legs, but other than that, great routine.
Savannah Maradiaga with the exhibition routine. Coming up, the final 2 rotations. Southern Utah goes to the floor and BYU to the always tricky beam. We're good on Friday, hoping to continue that trend here on Monday on their home floor. Rewind to Friday night. What a team performance from the Cougars of BYU. Their first head-to-head win, taking down the Wildcats of Arizona out of the Pac-12. Jill Van Mierlo's 9.9 routine on the uneven bars right there. And what Guard Young jokingly calls the beam fence. There's no offense or defense, right? So he's like, hey, our beam fence was pretty good tonight. The Cougars finished strong. Brianna Pearson on the floor and a 196.3 plus for the ladies to raise their regional qualifying score into position where if the regionals were announced today, they would be in just barely. And speaking of RQS, BYU has an average now of 195.370. now that they can include that 196.35 from the Friday meet against Arizona. They would love another big score tonight so that they have the option of dropping a lower score. Maybe that 195.2 at home against Utah State. You have to include 3 road scores. So, I mean, there are a lot of stipulations that go into this. Gonzalez finishes things off on the vault with a 9.65 for Southern Utah, but they go 49 plus again, 49.025. And after 2 rotations, they are at 98.150, which is currently 3/4 of a tenth behind BYU. And the Cougars can thank pretty remarkable performance. 5 of the 6 young ladies on the uneven bars, 49.2, highlighted by 3 9.875s. Trejo, Hortman, and Van Mierlo delivering for Guard Young's team. As I mentioned just moments ago, BYU with a very slight lead after 2 rotations and going to the beam. BYU had no falls on beam on Friday night.
I believe they only had 1 fall on anything, which is great.
On the floor.
Yeah, which is, even if you can have a fall, you don't really want one. It's not great for confidence. So it's great that they were able to get through the first 3 events without one.
Beam lineup for BYU. Pearson to lead it off, followed by Hannah Miller, Cheyenne Hill competing 3rd, Shannon Hortman 4th, Jill Van Mierlo, and Natasha Trejo, who just has that air of confidence for BYU on the beam. There's a certain look that I'm not going to fall, and she's got it.
Very confident, yes.
On the floor for Southern Utah, Gonzalez just vaulted. Now she will start things for SUU, followed by Virginia Brownsell, Jorgensen, Blake Howard getting her first action of the meet tonight. Bayer and Tylee Buzzuto rounding things out for that rotation on the floor.
What did you call beam earlier?
The beam fence.
Genius.
Yeah, I got to give credit to Guard Young for that. I mean, we sat here and talked for probably a half an hour after the meet got over, and he said, yeah, we need some new terminology. No offense, no defense. So I really thought our beam fence was good tonight.
It's genius. Beam is the Achilles heel of most teams. You're either on or you're off. It's 4 inches wide. You're doing very hard things on it, and you can't really compensate like you can on the other events. On the other events, if you're a little bit off, you can sneak it back on, you can troubleshoot. Here on beam, you just don't really have that opportunity.
Brianna Pearson.
Great start. We saw on beam we're going to be looking for a flight series, which is typically a back handspring layout, or a flick lay. We're going to be looking for front side moves like a front flip or a side aerial. We'll also be looking for leaps, jumps, and turns.
Pearson holds on.
That flight series is one of the more difficult skills the girls will do. That is what, if we do see major faults or falls tonight, that's typically what it will be on, is either the flight series or the front side move.
And not to state the obvious, but just to be clear, a significant wobble is not near the deduction that a fall is. And we're talking about 5/10 if you fall off that beam.
Yes, a flat deduction of 5/10 for falling off or touching the beam with your hands. Less of a deduction for the fall. For a wobble, depending on how big the wobble is, will be a deduction.
Here's another look at that acro series. Brianna Pearson holding on.
You see her grabbing the beam with her toes, just not willing to give up a fall there. Beautiful aerial here. Nice opening. Very confident to start with.
And the dismount from Pearson.
That is a more difficult dismount, that round off dismount. A lot of times we'll see the girls do the gainers off the side or something along those lines. That round off you have to go very aggressively for. And again, that beam is just so skinny. It's so skinny. I can't believe they're flipping on it like that.
Karen Gonzalez, first on the floor for Southern Utah. Put up her career high this season with a 9.9 on this event.
On floor, we're going to be looking for tumbling going both forward and backward. We'll be looking for at least one tumbling pass with 2 flips in it, 2 separate flips. A double back does not count. It has to be one flip, land, and then another. We're also going to be looking for leaps, jumps, and turns just like we were on beam. Very big opening double back for SUU. On floor, floor is the only event where you are allowed to take what is called a lunge. On the other event, a stick is considered not moving your feet at all. On floor, the gymnasts are welcome to take 1 step backward as long as it looks controlled, and it still counts as a stick. There's that front pass we're looking for. It also counts as her 2-flip pass. That's a common one we'll be seeing tonight, is the front layout, front full, or sometimes the front full, front layout.
Gonzalez lining up for her final pass.
Big Rudy to finish off. Great opening routine for SUU. Not a lot of deductions to be had in that.
That will most certainly go for a very favorable score from Karen Gonzalez as you take a look at that first pass. Nails.
You'll see it just looks easy. These girls are doing very hard things. They're going up, flipping twice in the air, and then finding their landing. Just making it look like casual Monday night.
There's that final pass. Good start for the Thunderbirds, who, if you're just joining us, entered the 3rd rotation trailing BYU, not even by a tenth, 3/4 of a tenth. Neck and neck through 2. Hannah Miller, second to compete on the beam for the BYU Cougars.
I love how Hannah just really takes her time on beam. A lot of times on beam, we can get riled up and excited. You really need to slow it down. It's more of a calm confidence kind of event rather than the nice aggressive go hard events that the other ones are.
Miller.
Oh, shoot.
Oh, and there is the fall.
Again, those front side moves in the series are very difficult to do, and that is where we will probably be seeing the deductions tonight. Her job now is to finish with as few deductions as possible because you never know what your teammates are going to do. We may have to count this routine or they may be able to drop it.
.9725 from Pearson for BYU as the opener. Hannah Miller with that fall. Visibly frustrated after, man, she tried everything she could.
She really did. That first foot just got a little off to the side. She is fighting, fighting, fighting. Often if you see a gymnast go to the side like that and then straighten their legs, they're not going to have a very good chance of saving it. It's called, a lot of coaches call it surfing. You want to bend your legs and get down into the beam to save it. And she just, when she turned sideways, she got those legs straight, and there just wasn't much she could do after that.
Okay, the drama has ratcheted up a few positions here for BYU on beam. Virginia Brownsell on floor for Southern Utah. She is a high flyer.
Floor's a fun event to watch. It's where we get to see a little more of the girls' personalities come out.
Wow.
Very unusual opening pass. We typically will not see a Rudy for your first pass. Done very well though. We'll see when we watch the replay later, her shoulders stay up on her punch and then her body rotates around it. A lot of times gymnasts will drop their shoulders down low and rotate around, but Virginia's just a very strong front tumbler. She is going to score well because of that. You'll see Virginia here slowing down a little bit before her final pass. Routines are about 90 seconds long, but they're very tiring 90 seconds. Imagine jumping on a treadmill and sprinting as fast as you can, and then jogging, and then sprinting as fast as you can, and then jogging. That's what a routine feels like.
That sounds miserable.
It's horrible.
Oh, Brownsell stumbled on that last pass. And perhaps that fatigue factor setting in right there.
It does. That is a hard last pass. She wasn't able to turn her round off over quite as much as she wanted to. We're going to see her shoulders here. You see how they just go up, 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 and she just flips around them so easily. That's what gives her such great amplitude on these front passes. You'll see she's just a little short taking off into that double back. Perhaps if she had held onto her legs a smidge longer, she would have been able to save it. But she just opens up a little too soon.
Virginia Brownsell awaits her score on the floor. Hannah Miller, after the fall on beam, as the second competitor for BYU with a 9.025. Now BYU working and hoping for 4 clean routines to keep this meet goal of 49 plus on each event alive. More importantly, put themselves in position to score well.
Good save there. She was slightly off. Typically, she does not take that extra step out of her layout. Very smart move on her part. Was able to step back and just really rein it in. Sharon does a great job on her leaps. You'll notice on the leaps and jumps, they do need to show a full 180-degree split. She's very tight and shows that split off very well.
Tough combination right there.
A little bit wild. She's able to save it, pull it back on. She does, well, like we talked about on bars, the routines really start out with 9-5 and you have to gain bonus by doing tricky things. Her tricky thing is she connects a jump out of her front move. Very hard to do. She handled it well.
Big sigh of relief and a smile from Cheyenne Hill.
You see she's a little off, but she still connects it, which is great. Had she wobbled in between, she would not have gotten the connection bonus.
Dismount from Hill.
Great dismount. She always seems to know exactly where that landing is. Again, front landings, very hard to do.
Brownsell with a 9.25.
Considering she had a fall, that is a great score, which just tells you how good her first 2 passes were.
Autumn Jorgensen competing on the floor in that 3 spot for the Thunderbirds.
Big double pike to open there. Lots of amplitude. On the girls' landings, we're going to be looking for their chest to be up when they land. If their chests are down by their knees, that is a deduction. Nice shoulders on this. Really great front tumbling from SUU. Front tumbling does tend to be harder for most girls, most teams. So it's great to see so many of their girls doing so well with it. Beautiful leap pass. Again, we want to see that full 180-degree split. She actually does something called a ring, where she does the whole full 180-degree split and then releases her head backwards to see her back foot. Very great landings here tonight.
Autumn Jorgensen in front of a lot of friends and family. She's from Orem, Utah. And a warm welcome for her by her teammates after a big floor routine.
You'll see those shoulders go up and the body just rotates right around it. See the head go back. Beautiful positioning. Crazy flexibility to be able to do that.
Well, you really appreciate just how difficult that is. You go back and see it in replay in slow motion.
Slow motion.
That's unbelievable athleticism. Cheyenne Hill with a 9.75. 3 more to go for BYU on the balance beam. And here is Shannon Hortman.
BYU has the funnest mounts. A lot of times you just jump on the beam, you try to get that up there as safe as possible. You don't want to fall on the mount. All of BYU's girls do something just kind of pretty to mount. Shannon's working on breathing on beam, taking her time. She just tends to be a very fast worker, which is definitely not a bad thing. But if you do get a little off, if you're going fast, it's easy to knock yourself off. Very confident on that front kickover. Exactly what we want to see after the last 2 front kickovers have been a little bit off.
Yeah, first class landing on that last aerial move.
She's really just attacking her moves. It's so great to see so much aggressiveness on beam. Really great set.
There's a boost of confidence for BYU and that beam fence.
You'll see she was actually quite a bit off to the left on that back layout, and she was able to just pull it right back on.
Look at that sturdy kickover. And the dismount from the freshman, Shannon Hortman. You think she has a bright future at BYU? Goodness.
You know, she's really been a standout freshman for BYU. She's contributed as an all-arounder, one of the only girls doing all-around, freshman or not. And she'll just contribute a lot the next 3 years.
Madison Blake Howard, season and career best 9.925 on the floor.
You'll see this gentleman sitting in the corner. You'll see people in the corner, in all the corners with flags. If the girls touch that white part of the carpet, it is a deduction, a 1/10 flat deduction for each time they go out of bounds. Another different opening pass we see with the twisting. SUU does have a lot of variety in their routines throughout all of their events, which is kind of fun. It's fun to see something different.
Blake Howard, 5'5" senior out of Idaho Falls.
She has beautiful lines. You can see she just really works great form. She does a lot of stuff on toes. Judges look for that. They want to see that even your dance, you're kind of stretching. A lot of times the dance is overlooked and we just look at their big tumbling passes. The dance is just as important. Another Rudy. You see that mat out there on the floor, not a deduction. Makes it a little softer. By the end of season, your ankles are usually pretty sore. It also adds just a tiny bit of bounce, which is sometimes helpful at the end of a routine.
First pass for Madison Blake Howard. Goodness. Talk about flipping in the same spot.
Yeah, she definitely got that chest up a little bit. That does make you nervous when that happens. A lot of times it leads to a fall. She handled it beautifully, though.
One of 7 seniors on this Southern Utah roster, Madison Blake Howard. Shannon Hortman pulls in a 9.875 for BYU.
Great score. BYU will be needing that in order to compensate for some of the lower scores they'll be counting tonight if they want to get that 49. A 49 is a 9.8 average. And Jill has been consistently putting up high scores on beam, so she should be able to contribute to that.
One of her 2.99s from Friday's meet. Oh. And that is a killer for the Cougars. Second to fall on the beam.
You know, she was just a little too far off. She didn't even really have a chance to fight. If you see the girls not jump off, but it kind of almost looks like they jump off, they have enough experience to know that if they're just going to flail around and get more deductions, it's not worth it. Jill's another one of the gymnasts that has beautiful lines on their leaps and jumps. Just really hits those split leaps perfectly.
And a second fall for Jill Van Mierlo.
You can hear all of her teammates and the crowd just rallying behind her. It's not a good feeling when you fall twice and you have to get back up and finish. Beautiful dismount. Way to really finish strong there after a disappointing performance for her.
Sticks that landing, so BYU will have to count a fall.
You can see she is just so far to that side. She doesn't stand a chance. Very smart move on her part. She knew how far over she was. She wasn't going to get more deductions by flailing about. Unfortunately, because Jill did fall twice, we will have to count the earlier fall that we saw during the meet.
Coming from Hannah Miller, Madison Blake Howard, the 9.875. Southern Utah generally puts up very, very good scores on the floor, and so far they look poised to do just that. Despite the fall from Brownsell, the second competitor on floor.
A little bit short on that opening pass. You'll see she opens up, knees go way over the toes. She does a great job not getting her knees on the ground. Good save on her part.
Oh.
Shoot. She will not only receive the deduction for the fall, but you did see her leg did go out onto the white versus the blue carpet, which means she went out of bounds. Kind of a double whammy there.
And the way this meet has played out.
I know, it started off so strongly for both teams.
And the falls have come in almost identical positions in each rotation. And even the number competitor within that individual rotation.
She did a great job saving that last pass too. She was a little bit crooked on it. A lot of saves here in this routine tonight. Lots of fight, which is great. You'll see here on this first pass, a little bit short on the landing. Knees go way over the toes. Could have sat down, but she chose not to. She really fought for that landing.
And here is that fall. You see her foot clearly onto the white out of bounds marker.
And you know, it's so easy on this kind of fall to hyperextend your knee. She did such a great job staying safe, which is the most important thing, really. But definitely disappointing for her.
Van Mierlo with an 8.6 after 2 falls on beam. Hannah Miller's 9.025 will now be counted, and here comes Natasha Trejo.
Again, those pretty mounts, they just take a little bit of time to show nice toe point, get it started on a good, solid note. I think Natasha's so pretty to watch on floor and beam. Just takes her time. She just has like pretty ballerina hands. Another wobble on those kickovers. Those kickovers are tricky tonight.
Trejo holding on.
It is a good feeling when you have your two main skills out of the way. She can pretty much, hopefully, plan on hitting tonight. That series we've seen her perform tonight was not one that she normally performs. She normally does the kick over front into a back handspring. However, she has so many skills that if she misses, if she's wobbly on that kickover, she can go ahead and walk up and do the flick leg. Not something she practices often, but obviously she's just phenomenal and can come through with either when she needs them.
Stick landing to finish for Natasha Trejo. What a big routine for the Cougars after watching two of her teammates fall on the beam. BYU had to have this.
Great job holding on this series. Again, not a series she typically practices or performs, but she was able to just pull that out of her back pocket when she was wobbly on her front kickover and unable to complete the back handspring out of it. Shows a lot of experience.
BYU complete on the balance beam. Bayard with an 8.925, so Brown sells 9.25. So Brown sells 9.25 in position to be included. And the Thunderbirds hoping that their senior star Tylee Bizzuto can bring something big here.
Huge opening pass, tons of amplitude. You can see how high she is, a little too high. Had a little too much power, bounced right out of bounds. Again, that will be a 1/10 flat deduction for touching the white on the carpet. There's that beautiful front tumbling that we talked about that SUU has. Shoulders stay up, body just rotates right around the shoulders. She now has all of her required passes done. She's done her 2-flip pass, she's done her front pass, she's done a back pass. This pass is just for the extra D. Each routine must have 2 Ds in it. A D would be a skill that's more difficult. Gymnastic skills are rated A to E based on difficulty. We'll likely be seeing a harder pass here, probably a double back. Slowing down the dance, try to get a little bit of energy back before that final pass.
And the final pass from Tylee Bizzuto.
Exactly what the T-Birds needed tonight. Huge landing. You can see why she was the spotlight this evening. She just has really come through and performed when she's been needed. You'll see so much height here. So much height and then just a little too much power, steps right onto the white carpet. Again, just a flat 1/10 deduction.
And nothing major from Tylee Bizzuto in terms of deductions. Exhibition routine on the beam for the Cougars, Savannah Maradiaga. Sophomore out of Tyler, Texas.
Typically the exhibition performer, each team competes top 6 gymnasts. The exhibition performer is usually number 7. Again, it's just really great to gain experience. If you're number 7th in lineup, then you're probably going to be competing sometime very soon. So it's great to be able to get a little bit of experience under your belt before you're thrown into the fire. That was beautiful. That was the smoothest aerial we've seen this evening. Great routine tonight from Savannah.
Savannah Maradiaga building experience with that exhibition routine for BYU and Guard Young's squad.
And the coaches look at the exhibition girls, seeing if they hit their routines and the girls in lineup are not, then typically they will move right into that lineup spot.
We move to the 4th and final rotation next. It comes down to the floor for BYU and Southern Utah on the beam. I'll use your timeline, your financial future. BYU with a disappointing 48.225 on beam. 2 falls. They dropped the 8.6 by Jill Van Mierlo, but have to include the 9.025 from Hannah Miller. BYU still in position to score 195 for the meet, and typically they've been pretty good on floor, so very much within reach. Their average score for the RQS is a 195.3, so they will be gunning for that or better. Southern Utah on the floor, also with 2 falls, Mikkel. They drop Bayer's 8.925 and include Brownstown's 9.250 to score 48.525. Total it all up, and the Thunderbirds have a 2/10 and 1/4 lead over BYU, the slimmest of margins as we go to the final rotation here in this head-to-head meet. 19th ranked Southern Utah, and BYU currently 35th in that regional qualifying score ranking, just inside the cutoff line to get into regionals. BYU on floor, Southern Utah on beam. Another reminder for the current RQS featuring Thunderbirds of Southern Utah. They average 196.3, and with 2 falls on floor, Mikkel, it's gonna take a record-setting performance on beam for them to hope anywhere close to that.
Yeah, both teams tonight were hoping to increase their RQS by just dominating like they have been. Both teams have been doing very well. I don't really know what's happening, unfortunately.
Southern Utah has gone over 197 this season.
They're having a great season, for sure.
Again, the average from BYU, 195.370, so that is understandably what the Cougars are gunning for, if not better. It's going to take a really textbook, strong final rotation performance for BYU on the floor.
Despite the fall, the Cougars can still increase their RQS. They are counting that 194.85 from their Utah State meet. They cannot drop that tonight, but they will be able to drop that at their conference meet if they do better.
Central Michigan and BYU tied in that 35th spot, which means both of them would get in if it were determined today, but nothing's final until this final floor rotation. Are you feeling pressure, Mikkel?
I am nervous.
I wish all of you could see Mikkel next to me, watching both of these teams with each wobble and fall fully invested, our fabulous color analyst, who was paid some nice compliments before the meet tonight. No, noticeably, I was not paid those similar compliments. Just, hey, Mikkel, you are fantastic. So great. We love you so much.
Everyone knows how great they are. They see you on Sports Nation.
Oh, goodness. It's okay. I love to take a back seat to you. Now that we've had that discussion on national television, let's go to the beam in Southern Utah.
Hopefully the beam fence is a little better to SUU than it was to BYU.
Jorgensen Yee competing second, seeing her first action of this meet. Bizzuto, Webb, Gonzalez, and Bayer are your 6 Thunderbirds on the balance beam. Now we should know it's always very difficult for teams to make this Friday-Monday transition. Monday meets are not the norm.
No, you're very tired. Anyone who's done anything with adrenaline knows you don't feel great after you've had it, and now they're coming right back.
Tasha Trejo, Brianna Pearson, Shannon Hortman, Mackenzie Douglas. The first 4 on floor for BYU. Greenleaf and Hill round out the floor. Both of these teams will compete at the Mountain Rim Gymnastics Championship, which is the postseason conference meet This is the final regular season meet for BYU and Southern Utah. Look at guard Young in his second season with the Cougars. Has taken on a serious youth movement. 11 freshmen coming in next year, and a class of freshmen that competed and contributed this year. He's trying to build depth. He told me he's recruiting an 8th grader for the first time, because that's what it has come to, right? You got to start early if you want these elite gymnasts to come and join your program.
Recruiting starts earlier and earlier these days. It's kind of crazy that girls are committing to colleges before they've even been to high school, but that's kind of what it takes, or they get sucked up by the other teams.
Autumn Jorgensen given the go-ahead from the judges on beam, and Southern Utah underway in the final rotation.
We talked about that Friday-Monday schedule. SUU is doing a great job with that. They traveled all the way from Cedar City to Logan for Friday's meet, stayed the weekend up in Salt Lake, and now are here again. I don't know if anyone has ever just spent the weekend waiting around for something to happen on Monday at a hotel. But it's tiring, it's draining. The traveling these girls do and keeping up with their schoolwork and their social lives, it's very tiring, especially by the end of season. They're doing a great job managing that all.
Beautiful.
We don't see a lot of punch fronts anymore. Typically we see the kickover front. A punch front is a very hard front move. You have to land it very upright or the judges deduct it very harshly. She did it very well.
Wow.
Huge dismount. Very elite style dismount. You don't see that a lot in college. The double back, you have to go so aggressively, which is crazy because she practically walked into the round off. Here's that beautiful front flip again.
Yeah, punch front.
Yeah, the punch front nonetheless.
Oh.
That's a very hard, I don't know if anyone's been to those fun little gyms where you flip into the pit. A double back is hard to do off a trampoline into a loose foam pit, let alone off a 4-inch beam out of a round off that you get one step into.
That was outstanding. Autumn Jorgensen bringing it on the beam to start for Southern Utah, and here is Natasha Trejo. First to go on the floor.
We talked about how you have to have 2 Ds on floor. Most girls get that in their tumbling. Natasha does it with tumbling and dance moves. Beautiful mount. You can take one step back and not get a deduction. However, Natasha just nailed that double back. Didn't have to take the step. Such a dominant way for BYU to come out after that difficult beam lineup.
Natasha Trejo having a meet for BYU.
Again, I just think Natasha is the prettiest dancer. She has the prettiest hands. It shows a lot of her club training. She obviously worked very hard in club to become a beautiful dancer. Gearing up for that last pass, really taking her time, catching her breath in the corner. A little crazy on the landing, but great set for BYU. That was honestly one of the only deductions in her entire routine. We're going to see she just takes this double back way up, knows exactly where her landing is, and doesn't have to move her feet at all.
Elegant first pass from Natasha Trejo.
The control that shows is just such an expertise to get to the level where you don't have to step back is very impressive.
Natasha catching her breath. Never seems to be too high or too low. Very even keel. And look at that score coming in for Jorgensen of Southern Utah. Autumn Jorgensen with a 9.9 to begin.
I was going to say opening with a 9.9.
Whoa.
If they can build off that. Interesting move right there. It's kind of a combination of the front kick over and a front aerial. Done beautifully.
Kirsten Yee, the gymnast for the Thunderbirds.
Yee's another one of those gymnasts that really shows off her flexibility and her form in her leaps and jumps. Beautiful lines.
I said the Thunderbirds only had 7 seniors on the roster. They have 8 seniors on the roster, so misspoke a bit there, but the point is they have a ton of leadership and experience on the roster. So it's not really, I mean, it shouldn't be a surprise to us that they have excelled this year. I mean, Scott Bauman has built a machine, and it's led by 8 really solid seniors.
And you know, they've had a few major injuries this year that you would think would have derailed their progress. One of their top scoring girls is out for this season, and they still have managed to just hit routine after routine after routine because of the machine Scott has built.
Kirsten Yee follows up that 9.9 with a pretty darn good routine of her own.
Huge set.
Score in from the first floor competitor for BYU, Natasha Trejo, 9.85.
Again, these are big opening scores. Ideally, what we're going to see is that scores rise as the gymnasts perform. So when you're opening with big scores like that, it shows that you have a lot of confidence in your floor lineup, your beam lineup. You're expecting big scores all night.
That 9.85 by Natasha Trejo is a new career high. Brianna Pearson with her first pass. And out for a 10th deduction.
It is a little bit hard to tell when that mat is in. You'll see that the gymnasts have had to tape off lines. What's going to happen is that the corner judge, you'll see he raises his flag to say, yes, she did step over the lines that were taped on. Great Rudy, that front 1.5. That is her second D. At this point, all we're waiting for, as far as her requirements go, are her two flip pass.
Final pass to that big band music.
Very strong landing. Very good finish. Good routine overall.
Brianna Pearson, the only major deduction, at least in terms of being clear, is that step back with the left foot over the line, which is an automatic 10th.
It's a great double back. She just holds on for a millisecond too long, and that millisecond makes a big difference in gymnastics.
Look at
Wow.
Yee. 9.925. Now, I jokingly said it would take a record-setting performance from Southern Utah to get into that 196
They're taking
area.
you up on it.
Hey, they're off to a
ready.
fantastic start. And they should feel confident about what's happening right now because Tylee Bizzuto is on the beam. And she's as solid as they come for Southern Utah.
Huge opening there with the beat jump into the standing double A. Very confident start. SUU has very aggressive beam. I feel like they really attack it.
Oh, just like that. I need to shut my mouth.
You're
okay?
jinxing everyone, Spencer.
Stop. It will not count unless there is another fall for Southern Utah. So 9-9, 9-9-2-5, and then whatever Tylee Bizzuto scores here. But the Thunderbirds do have the luxury of being able to drop it if they can hit the 3 final routines.
Huge gainer full off the side of the beam there. Tons of amplitude. We talk a lot about amplitude in gymnastics. It's just part of it. You do receive a deduction if your skills don't rise as you do them. You're gonna see here, she's just a little off right from the beginning. Foot comes on. Anytime you land and your toes turn inward instead of outward, it's very hard to stay on the beam.
Brianna Pearson with a 9.725. Which takes it to Shannon Hortman.
Shannon's routine is a crowd favorite. They get so excited every time she takes the floor. We're talking on Vol about how Shannon is just a powerhouse. She just has tons of energy, really shows here on floor. She's also quite the performer. So it's just really fun to watch her dance and watch her just go out there and enjoy herself.
Well, it fits her personality. If you've talked to her out of competition, she is larger than life.
Double pikes and double tucks are so consistent. That's something she's really been working this season, is just consistently getting her landings down, and it's really paying off. We've seen the past several meets. She's just become a very dependable performer for BYU, which is saying something considering she is a freshman and that they're depending so much on her. Huge routine. We should be expecting a gigantic score from Shannon.
She's already posted a 9-9 in this event.
Huge double back, runs right into her dance. So excited.
That second pass. And wow. The body control during that third pass, where we've chronicled just how hard it is because of the fatigue setting in. She should be pleased with that. Tylee Bizzuto after the fall, 9.3.
Again, a 9.3 with an automatic 5/10 off is a great score.
Yeah, you bet.
It's just a testament to how good the rest of the routine looked.
Stacy Webb.
Stacy is so smooth. Her gymnastics reminds me of, like butter. Like, it just graceful and like, look at those landings. They're so soft.
I think you need to make more of those comparisons.
Like butter?
Yes. And I agree with you. It fits her routine, her style. We talked about that air of confidence from some gymnasts on the beam. It's on display once again. It's unflappable.
So you're really taking her time, getting ready to finish up here.
Whoa.
Big beam tonight from SUU. You can see why they are ranked as high as they are and why they do have a chance at being seeded as the top 18. Very smooth. Fun little connection here. That does count as a front side move. Right into the dismount. Very smart strategic planning on that part.
And she's awarded a perfect 10.
That is so difficult to achieve in college gymnastics.
Let's give a round of applause on the beam. Stacy Webb just scored a perfect 10.
Well earned and deserved after that set.
I wondered. I thought, okay, 995. That is an extraordinary performance by Stacy Webb. And as one of the seniors, to do that at this juncture, hey, listen, they heard me, right? They got a 9.9, a 9.925, and now a perfect
They said, we're taking
10.
you up on that challenge, Spencer. We're doing
We'll
it.
see about this potential 196. Incredible. A sincere congratulations to all of us, or from all of us here at BYU TV Sports, to Stacy Webb on that perfect 10 routine. Competition continues on the floor for BYU. Mackenzie Douglas.
Another high flyer. Everything we do, Mackenzie does. We always talk about how high, how much amplitude she has. Big score because of that. Another great landing. Mackenzie's actually downgraded her routine a little bit throughout the season. She used to start with that full in, and now she does the double pike. You're not necessarily rewarded for doing harder skills with the 10-0 start value. In the Olympics, which we all just watched, you are rewarded for doing the bigger tricks, the FIG, because your routine's not out of the 10-0. Here, sometimes it's easier, it's better to do a little easier pass you can perform perfectly and get no deductions on, which is the path that she's taking right now. Great routine from Doug tonight. She's just become a very consistent contributor on floor for BYU. You plan on her going up, hitting, and getting a big score every single time.
Let's take a closer look at Mackenzie Douglas.
So high.
The amplitude is certainly noteworthy. And that's equally impressive on that final pass. Mackenzie Douglas going to bring in a big score for BYU. Look at that. I mean, that 10
unbelievable.
just pops. The reaction from Southern Utah as a team was something to behold, for sure.
That is one of the best parts about college gymnastics. In club gymnastics, you're competing for yourself. It's just you out there. In college gymnastics, when you hit, it's like you're hitting for your whole team, or when your teammates hit, it's as good as if you had done it yourself. So it's so great that they can all share in that moment together. Kind of a fun arm placement there on the turn. Typically on the full turns that we'll see, you just get them out of the way. You don't want any deductions on them. It's kind of fun to see something a little different. Holy moly, that was such a good
recovery.
save.
What a
I can't even
recovery
believe that.
by Karen Gonzalez.
I do not believe that even happened.
Hey, we've seen a perfect 10, so we shouldn't be surprised that that happened.
She like levitated back onto the beam. And then she had to do the exact same skill 5 seconds later. Nailed it. It's kind of scary to do the same trick again though after you almost fall on it.
Oh, no.
Good save as far as she did stay on the beam.
Karen Gonzalez. She had the fall later in the routine, but watch this.
I still have no idea how she did that. Her foot is off. She is off the beam, and she somehow, that beam is, again, 4 inches wide. And she's able to just pull that right back on.
Core strength, and unfortunately that foot slipped off the right side again.
Not able to
but
save
never
it.
touched the mat.
Yeah, that was a good fight all the way around.
Mackenzie Douglas with the 9.875, equaling Shannon Hortman 9.875, and Natasha Trejo had her career high of a 9.85 to open up, which takes us to Kylie Greenleaf.
Kylie joined the floor lineup a little later in season. And ever since she has joined it, she's just been a very consistent contributor. Which at this point in the season, I feel like I keep saying, what a consistent contributor, consistent contributor. At this point, your last home meet, you are expecting the girls to be consistent contributors. Which is why BYU is expecting to hit at least 49s on their events. She does that lead pass so well.
She gains confidence every
time. She just looks a little bit better. It's not even necessarily her gymnastics is getting better. She just carries herself like she's planning on hitting and performing well. Slowing it down again a little bit before that last pass. A lot of pressure on Kylie here. This routine should score so well. I did not see a deduction. Huge, huge set.
We have seen some magical things here in the final rotation from both teams.
You'll see here a lot of times the gymnasts will kind of hop around when they finish their leaps. She hits full splits and just sticks these landings. Leap landings are where a lot of sneaky deductions come in. She will allow none of that to happen. Huge dismount. Just a great set. Ooh, I'm excited to see her score.
Gonzalez with a 9.225, so Bizzuto's 9.3 in position to be counted, and Gonzalez will have her score dropped. Cameron Bayer is the anchor beam performer for Southern Utah in this head-to-head competition.
Very, very hard series. We spoke earlier about how the round-off is a hard move to do on a beam. All the other times we've seen the round-off on the beam, they're flipping off it. She does this difficult round-off on a beam and then has to flip back onto the beam. It's also hard because it's a twisting move. A lot of times on series we'll see front back or back back because you're nice and straight over the beam the whole time. On the round-off back layout, you're twisting halfway through, which means you have a higher chance of being off. Oh. Good save there on the leap pass. Chest was just a tiny bit down. She was able to bend her knees, though. We spoke earlier, if you're sideways and your knees are straight, you will fall. She was sideways off a little bit, bent the knees, saved it great.
Cameron Bayer hits that routine. And now let's wait and see for Southern Utah in terms of a final team score. In a rare Monday night showcase of NCAA women's gymnastics on BYU TV. One more look at the dismount from Bayer. Greenleaf, 3 consecutive 9.875s for BYU on the floor.
They're going to have a record night on floor. If they hit this routine, we may see BYU's highest score of the season on floor.
Cheyenne Hill. to try and bring that to fruition in terms of a season best team score on floor.
Oh, goodness. That was a interesting fall.
An ad lib.
Yes, good troubleshooting there. It will, unfortunately, even though it was the trickiest fall we've seen of the evening, it will still count as a fall. Luckily for BYU, they haven't had a fall yet on floor.
They've got 5 scores in already. BYU's best floor score of the season as a team is a 49.150. Unofficially, regardless of what Cheyenne Hill does here, the Cougars are going to score 49.2.
Awesome.
Which will be a season best.
Great finish for Cheyenne. She really bounced back after that first pass. Sometimes when you mess up on your first pass, it's not like the other events where you take 30 seconds, get your brain back together. Your music's still playing. You still have to finish right then. And she did such a good job regrouping mentally and really finishing strong.
Cheyenne Hill, after an ad lib troubleshooting first pass.
Well, she kind of matched her music, the style of her dance. Maybe she'll trick them.
That's remarkable.
Maybe it won't even count as a fall.
That is remarkable. In that moment, like, yeah, I'll just go ahead and add this little front handspring. We'll call it good. My backside won't hit the floor. Everybody good? Okay, we're good. BYU and Southern Utah neck and neck all night. They had similar falls at similar times, and also
it's a very odd performance all the way
some
around.
of the best individual performances we have seen all season, including Stacey Webb's perfect 10 on the balance beam.
Which balance beam is so hard. I'm not sure I've said that enough. Balance beam is hard.
A perfect beam routine.
When you hit on beam, it is so rewarding because it is so difficult. I feel like when you hit on beam, it's even more rewarding than if you hit on any of the other events. There's just so much room for error.
Entertaining stuff, to say the least.
As an exhibition for BYU.
Exhibition routines for BYU. Hannah Miller on the floor now. Calculating final scores here after 4 rotations.
Good opening.
As we watch Hannah's exhibition, I will tell you this, Southern Utah, even with 2 falls on the balance beam, almost score 49.
Crazy.
48.95.
That is insane. See, Hannah does that little jump out of her pass. Not a deduction. It's kind of a fun way to add some bonus to your routine. Also, sometimes that straddle jump is easier to stick. It's a good strategic move. Exhibitioning on the floor is very hard. Typically, you're doing it for experience, so you maybe need a little more experience, but by the time it's your turn to go, you are cold. You haven't been able to warm up the whole time, so it's almost harder than competing. Great finish, great routine. BYU just looked very skilled out there on floor tonight. Really performed. Big confidence builder going into their postseason.
The Mountain Rim Gymnastics Conference Championship awaits the BYU Cougars. Season best score on floor of 49.2 for Guard Young and his gymnastics troops. BYU 3 out of 4, 49 plus on the events tonight. The balance beam was the eyesore, 48.225. Southern Utah right there with BYU, just a hair under 49 on the balance beam, including a perfect 10 from Stacy Webb. And a less than desirable result for the Thunderbirds on floor, 48.525. And scores unofficial for the time being. We will get you the official tally marks. It is neck and neck for BYU and Southern Utah. The Cougars just won their first head-to-head meet against Arizona on Friday. And if they can come back here tonight and take care of the 19th ranked team in the country, Southern Utah head-to-head, what a boost of confidence that would be moving forward.
All right, Cosmo, you're gonna help me throw. We've got a
A team peaking at the right time, which is how we began this broadcast.
Who's on it?
Dexter and Dexter Performance of the Meet, brought to you by DexterLaw.com. Dexter Law is passionate about shouldering people's burdens, as it is about BYU. Dexter and Dexter helps you when you need it most. Of course, it will be a perfect 10 from Southern Utah's Stacy Webb on the balance beam, no less.
What a great way to finish out your regular season of your senior year. She could not have asked for anything better.
And I agree with it. I mean, you look back at that performance,
There's nothing.
there was nothing there to deduct.
Nothing. Gorgeous.
Everything was just fluid and silky and smooth and buttery, as you called it.
To conclude tonight's meet, we would like to say farewell to our beloved senior.
Dexter and Dexter Performance of the Meet, well-deserved by Stacy
Please
Webb.
welcome to the floor, senior Taylor Harwood, escorted by her parents, Tracy and Kyle Harwood.
Taylor Harwood, senior night for the lone BYU senior, joined by her parents.
Please turn your attention to the new state video board for a short video on Taylor's career.
And we take you now to the beam score for Southern Utah, 48.95. That
That is
10
crazy.
just, it looks wrong, right? Like there's a typo there, but it is very right.
Being able to score a 48.95 counting a fall looks like a typo. Their beam is just phenomenal to
Really
be able
good.
to do that.
Bizzuto's 9.3 is included, even though she had a fall, and that's a respectable score with the fall. BYU on the floor, season best, 49.2. Cheyenne Hill has her 9.175 eliminated, but Trejo, Hortman, Douglas, Greenleaf all going well
Right
over
there.
9.8. Brianna Pearson's 9.725, the low score there. Congratulations to both teams on a very entertaining and hard-fought meet tonight. Now for our final score on senior night in Provo. The BYU Cougars win by a quarter of a tenth. 195.650 to Southern Utah's 195.625. It took that season best on the floor
To get him right over that little
to make it happen.
ledge.
And more importantly, BYU will improve their regional qualifying score. It was at an average of 195.37. Obviously, the 195.650 will bump that just a little bit.
Which is really all they need. They're just right there on the bubble. They only need to be bumped a little bit just to feel confident going into regionals.
That'll do it for us from the Smith Fieldhouse on senior night. Big Monday, NCAA Women's Gymnastics. BYU wins 195.650 to Southern Utah's 195.625. A quarter of a tenth. Baseball coverage continues on BYU TV tomorrow. New Mexico State and BYU from Miller Park. Coverage at 8 Eastern, 6 Mountain. For the hardworking and well-spoken Mikkel Merkley and every member of our awesome BYU TV sports crew, I'm Spencer Linton saying goodnight from Provo. It's another Cougar winner.